In a groundbreaking move, Cheeba Africa Cannabis Academy has secured accreditation for Africa's first higher certificate in cannabis production and management. Now, this landmark program, launched in Johannesburg this year, is poised to revolutionize the burgeoning cannabis industry across the continent. Let's shed light on this pioneering program, its curriculum, and how it's preparing a new generation of skilled professionals to capitalize on the global cannabis boom. And to do this, we are joined by CEO and co-founder of Cheeba Africa's Cannabis Academy, Trenton Birch. Trenton, thank you so much for your time here on the AM Report. And of course, it is going to be an accredited qualification, higher certificate in cannabis production and management, which is an NQF level 5 qualification. But the question is, where did you see the gap and the demand for such a qualification to be offered in the country?
I think, when you have a sunrise industry, there comes a point where you need to have qualified personnel. And accreditation is important. It's the backbone of any sunrise industry, making sure that personnel that are moving into the industry are actually qualified and haven't learned everything on YouTube. So, the industry is slowly finding its feet. We really are positive this year is going to be a seismic year for cannabis and hemp. And qualifications are needed to industrialize and to formalize the industry.
Talk me through what this would entail then, because it is one that's going to offer quite a bit of theory, but you've been quite intentional to make sure that you have hands-on practical experience as well. What does this look like? What is the full curriculum like in this program that you look to offer?
So, cannabis to a large degree is an agricultural industry. The foundation is agricultural. But when you start to look at the sort of medical side, and then if you look at hemp and all the industrial applications that are possible, it really can't just be looked in isolation as an agricultural industry. So while we do teach cultivation, have a lot of hands-on sort of parts of that course, we teach management, from product development, marketing, transportation, security, global markets, how things are changing, the medical side of cannabis. So it really is quite a deep industry and multifaceted. So we've designed this curriculum based on 5 years of experience of delivering shorter courses to make sure that it gives our graduates a really robust and wide, broad understanding of how the industry actually works, because we need people who understand the full value chain for this industry to really take off.
And I'm sure in the 5 years then, and you've made some observations in terms of some of the uptake and key gaps that you would have identified and changes that you've made along the way. Take us through that journey through the 5 years and perhaps how you arrived at the curriculum that you seek to offer now.
Yeah, it is an evolving industry globally. The Americas, the North America has been at this for a long time. So, we really believe in creating African solutions that are relevant to our market, but learning from what's been happening in the international market. And also, we're practitioners, we're in the industry, we live and breathe the industry, we are in a consultancy as well. So we're involved in projects across the value chain. That allows us to be on the ground to actually understand what the market needs. And the market is shifting and moving and changing all the time. So we've used all of that experience to put this curriculum together to make sure that it's as relevant as possible to our market, but also making sure that people do understand the global trends and how things are moving.
Do you not perhaps feel that you might have jumped the gun a bit? And I'll qualify this statement because as much as cannabis has been decriminalized in the country, there still is no clear regulatory framework. So what happens then if the regulations come out and not in line with some of what you're offering? Or is that something that you would have explored then while going through this journey?
Yeah, we constantly follow what is happening around the world, and we do take, legislative-wise to a certain degree, we do follow those trends. The reality is cannabis and hemp are coming fast, and for us, they're one of the most important industries of our time. So, if we'd have launched this course 3-4 years ago, yes, we might have been ahead of the time, and we are ahead of the time. It is the first of its kind on the continent, but the industry is at an evolutionary stage where it needs people who know what they're doing. And we're finding a lot of people in the industry, who are clueless to some degree. They're jumping off this bridge and making it up as they go along. For us to make this a country competitive strategy, and for us to actually take our rightful place globally and become competitive and drive job creation and make sure this industry happens, we need formalized training and stacked training that actually ties into what the industry needs. So yes, we are first movers, and there are pros and cons to that, but the time is now. We're sleeping on things, the legislation is taking too long, There's a huge opportunity for South Africa, so we are just pioneering and pushing forward as fast and hard as possible. And this is part of our offering to help build and bolster this industry.
And I suppose in some of the changes that we've seen, there was a bit of excitement from those in the cannabis industry when there was the first announcement of a JSE-listed company offering cannabis. Unfortunately, though, they've also then seemed to withdraw due to the regulatory uncertainty. What do you make of this, where there's big players in the cannabis game who are saying, well, it's still a bit too uncertain for us. Let's rather wait until the regulations come a bit later.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, government have really failed us in terms of legislation. Things have been clunky and slow. We've had our president talk about cannabis in 3 different sonar speeches, but the momentum has been up and down. So we really feel, that things have moved to now the DTI in terms of moving the master plan forward. So we're very confident of the way things will move this year. But it has been complex. It is a complex topic. Because of its illegality and its history, it makes it complex and it's multifaceted and it's confusing. So we as an industry also need to pull our socks up and work together more, and also present a more united front to government. So, government really need to come to the party and actually get legislation on the table. But as an industry, we also need to formalize and regulate. So I think this year is going to be a real tipping point for this industry, because there's a lot of work being done. As you said, there's a lot of investment that's gone into this space. So it's our opportunity to lose.
Let's talk about some of the key positives then that could come out of this. One that you've identified is potential job creation. Speaking to those who have a lot of land and nothing to do with it in terms of, commercializing and cultivating. He actually made an example about the Eastern Cape, where about 140,000 hectares of barren land exists, and you want people to be able to do this in a sustainable and, more important, legal manner. Take us through that.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity is huge. I mean, one of the misconceptions is, people think because they have land, they should be growing cannabis. So unfortunately, when it comes to medical cannabis, that is controlled by big pharma. So the rules and regulations are very, very high. There are also logical reasons for that. When you're creating medicine, you need consistency, and to get consistency, you need GMP standards, you need consistency, and you need standard operating procedures. So that does keep a certain population out of that market. What we do need is a recreational market. Most African governments are very conservative. People are afraid to open up the recreational market. But if we see the international trends and the way cannabis is sort of moving into that space, replacing alcohol across the planet at the moment, or across countries where it has been legalized, there has to be a shift in mindset. And so there is a huge opportunity for the marketplace to open up, but we can't just focus on medical. We need to allow people responsible adult use. We need to allow people to use cannabis in the health and wellness space that is less regulated than the sort of hardcore medical space. Then there's also the hemp side of the industry, which is huge. We have huge potential. We can cultivate at a fraction of what they cultivate in the north. Our price per square meter is a lot cheaper. Our costs of labor are cheaper. So we could be the breadbasket of cannabis and hemp into Europe. I mean, we already have been exporting tons and tons and tons of cannabis into Europe for decades. So it's not like this is a new thing for us. We just need to formalize it. The government can make their tax. We can pay tax. And we can all sort of build this industry. And, with mechanization and AI on our doorstep, sunrise industries are more important than ever before. And this is an industry that really, really needs to be taken seriously, because the benefits are completely mind-blowing once you start to get into it.
And as we wrap up then, Trenton, for one who says, well, this might be something I want to get into, is there other affiliation with the educational institutions and the job market alike, where one would say, once I'm done with this qualification, I can use my certificate to apply for a job, or perhaps to show that I have some sort of experience in this? How would this open doors practically when one has undergone this training that you offer?
I mean, at the moment, most people apply for jobs in the industry with very little formal experience. They might have cultivated in their backyard. They might have spent a few months working in a cannabis club. This is a formal qualification. It states the fact that you've spent a year in an accredited organization, which has been structured, which has been vetted by the DHET, the Council of Higher Education. So at some point, if you don't have a qualification, you will just fall to the back of the queue in terms of the interview process. We already have students who have been studying with us for the last 3-4 years who are employed across the country. And we have calls coming in constantly looking for people that have experience. You'd rather take somebody that studied some things and has that formal background than somebody who's learned on YouTube. And up until now, there have been limited options to actually study. So we believe this is going to be a very powerful move to really establish this market and to help us drive the international opportunity for us.
Well, sounds like a very interesting qualification for one to have. Thank you so much for your time, Trent. Certainly hope there'll be a high demand and many wishing to enroll, so to speak. So that was the CEO and co-founder of Cheeba Africa's Cannabis Academy, Trenton Birch.